Hey everyone, welcome back. And this time it is a review. Justin and I both just got back from seeing Ghostbusters. I saw it last night, he saw it tonight. We're stoked. In short, I loved it.
It was great. I wanted to stay and see it a second time, but I couldn't. I'm gonna go and see it again. I might even go back to the same theater where I was so pumped to see this movie. I took the family an hour and a half to Christiansburg, Virginia, to an RPX theater where they have leather stadium seating that reclines and there's subwoofers in the seat. The screen is absolutely massive, and I think they said they had 32 speakers in the theater. It was just absolutely amazing.
I thought about calling into work and going to see it again tonight because, try to catch the majority crowd. I literally went to like the Thursday 4 p.m., the very first one. I mean, and I was actually surprised. There was 15, 20 people in there. Like, that was a lot more than I thought would be. But hey, I was trying to get it in before work and everything. But I guess what we're going to do, audience, is we're going to break this down into two main sections. We're going to try to do a spoiler-free review, just our general thoughts, like it or not. And then we'll move into the spoiler review, and we'll definitely I'll put something on the screen and the timestamps and stuff in there. So spoiler-free review. Justin, just overall, we both said we loved it, but a little more details. What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Definitely 2 thumbs up. It's kind of hard to I can't think of what to say without spoiling it because there's just so much packed into this movie.
Well, the spoiler-free section will be very short, but we'll
yeah, good. I think it was it had a lot of Easter eggs in it for the hardcore fans, and it did a very good job of setting up the progression of the storyline as well as addressing past storylines and setting up future avenues for them to take with the movie.
Right. That's exactly what I caught. Like, I was trying to temper my expectations and not be so much of a critic, because I figured this movie was more for the old fans, for nostalgia, and of course, knowing how the sausage is made, I could pick anything apart and find their flaws or whatever, but that's not what this experience was for me. It was like going back to my childhood in a way, and just overall, I thought I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the new cast was great. McKenna Grace, I thought she was the main protagonist. She was the lead character, and I thought she did great. Phoebe is the character's name. I mean, I don't know why I'm even worried about it. Like, child actors are badass nowadays. Like, I don't know how old she is, but clearly young.
No, she was 10 in the movie. I don't think she was probably a good bit older than that.
15,
maybe
14,
13,
15.
14.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I think she was cast perfectly.
And the kid from, I'm gonna quit calling him kid, Finn Wolford, a young adult actor from Stranger Things, was great. And actually, he was the face I recognized, but he didn't have the main role. He was a supporting role.
A supporting cast,
right? And did great. Every scene in the movie seemed to advance the plot just right. There wasn't really any filler in there.
There's no wasted time.
They could have easily went too much down the nostalgia route and just had stuff in there that was only to be fan service. But every scene seemed to work, give you fan service, but also progress the story. That's amazing. I love that. I thought Paul Rudd was good. He's such an awesome actor, a comedian. He could easily take over a scene or whatever. I thought he fit that role perfectly. Carrie Coon, I don't know if I know her at all. The mother. Do you know her?
Yeah,
from
I didn't
anything?
Recognize her from anything else, but she did a decent job.
Decent job. I mean, she had a tough role to fill there about being anti-science and everything, but it was great. As we're ending the spoiler free review here, do you want to let's go ahead and rate it, what we think our rating is?
Okay. Honestly, 10. I went into it expecting a lot, and it kind of exceeded what I was hoping for. This would be the second movie that I remember ever wanting to go back to the theater to see more than once.
Absolutely. I totally wanted to go back. I'm going to go probably see it again. I guess I would rate it probably, oh man, not a 10, but only because I I know there's room to grow. We can go more. Overall movie and my enjoyment and everything, it'd have to be a 9, probably, honestly. 9, 9.5. It is top, and that's not a low rate, but it's like a top tier rating. You know what I mean? That's
So what would it take for you to bump that up to a 10?
damn you for being epistemological on me and making me think about it. No, let's see. Probably no, man, because right now I'm starting to think about the last scene.
Spoiler.
No spoilers here. The last scene got me without saying specifically. It got to me. Like I was wet eyed, and I don't know if a tear came down my cheek or not, but I was like holding back. If I had to have a conversation with somebody, I wouldn't have been able to speak. You know what I mean? Like
So,
in that moment.
do you mean the last scene or the last scene?
You know, the finale of the movie when
Okay. Okay.
when everything you suspect is going on
Yeah.
manifests and you see
Yep.
what's
Okay.
going on. And yes, there are in credit scenes. If anybody is stupid enough to watch these reviews before going
Two
to
of 'em.
see it, there are 2 post credit scenes. No spoilers. Just stay for the credits and watch them.
Yeah, stay all the way through the credits.
To answer your question directly, what would all right, audience, this is a spoiler, so if you want to know what would get me from a 9.5 to 10, I'm going to move this part to the spoiler review part. All right, so anything else you want to add to the spoiler-free part of the review? Otherwise, we'll move right on into the spoiler part of the review and really get down to the nitty-gritty with Easter eggs and everything.
If you like Ecto 1, you'll be happy with this movie.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I mentioned before that in some of the documentaries about Ecto 1 for this movie, they put a more modern fuel-injected type engine in the car. And, you know, my wife is into cars as well. And there's one scene in particular where they're hauling ass through town. And they fishtail through an intersection, and the car's just full throttle doing a burnout the whole way. And my wife looks over, and she's like, man, that new engine sounds really good.
We're moving on to the spoiler part.
Good.
Big spoiler screens on, all across the screen right now. Hopefully, if you have not seen the movie, do not listen to this part. Please go watch it for yourself. Get pumped up with the spoiler-free reviews and go see it. Hit like, hit favorite on this video. Come back after and let us know in the comments how you feel and what you think. All right, so on to the spoiler review. So if you're back here from the spoiler to the spoiler review, want to know what makes me go from 9.5 to 10, it would be having Rick Moranis in there.
Oh man, you got me. That's
Yes,
the perfect answer.
Rick
God
Moranis. And that's kind of what I was, we're in the spoiler section for a second now. Seeing Sigourney in the first end credit scene, then I was like, oh man, maybe the very end we're gonna see Rick, even if it's just like down a hallway and you see his face or something, like getting locked out of his door or stuff. Trying to get in his fucking door,
Yeah.
something like that. It could have been that simple. But anyway, that would raise me from a 9.5 to 10, I think. So
That's a perfect answer.
Justin, what did you think about the movie? Always
It was
turn to you.
amazing.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. I can't think of one part of the movie that I didn't like.
Well, it's the most fresh on your mind right now because you saw it. You got out of the theater 2 hours ago or something like that. So.
Yeah. And an hour and a half of driving home from the theater thinking about the damn movie. So, yeah,
Start us
it was
off.
great.
You want to kind of just work through it as best we can.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Kind of, yeah.
Yep.
It starts off with Egon. He's not.
You know it's Egon,
but
but
you know it's
can't. They never show his face.
They do good lighting and everything, so you can't see his face, but clearly
Yeah.
by the way he
can
acts
tell.
and all the surroundings and what he's setting up and doing and everything it's clearly Egon. And Egon gets he makes it to his chair, and then can't the traps don't work, and he becomes a ghost. But they don't let you know this directly. It's through hints, like he gets attacked in his chair, and it shows a shot on the floor of the meter. What's the detector? meter
This
called
is the EK or no PKE meter.
PKE meter, and it like
Yeah.
lights up, so it's like, oh, another ghost, and so you get the. I don't know about you, but I picked up like, okay, this is, uh, that he died there and he became a ghost. But then once they
Right
started
away,
showing the
instantly.
family, right, you get this, and so but once they started showing the family and grandfather's dead and got to move into the old house or whatever, I was like, to me it was obvious that they were the Spanglers, right? The movie tried to keep that. They didn't tell you that directly until about halfway through. They keep planting these seeds, I guess, for a new audience, right? They got to tell a story for a new audience too, not just assume everybody's seen the original movie. So,
All right.
that's a plot point we picked up right off the bat, and it wasn't hanging over us. But sorry, I'm kind of jumping around everywhere. But yeah, it just makes me want to jump right to the end. But anyway,
There's so much to unpack.
so much to unpack, right? Even down to the did I tell you the crunch bar in the pocket?
Oh yeah.
I mean, all of that stuff, right? Like, oh my gosh, we almost need to go through the old movies, bring them right now, and just like click through them to find. All right, I've been ranting for a second. Take over.
Oh God. All right. So, what happens next? There's so much. So Egon, what was chasing him? Was it?
One of
I don't know.
the things that
I don't want to give away the rest of the movie we haven't talked about, but like I just have so many thoughts.
just let it go.
So,
This is a spoiler part.
Something was chasing him from the nearby mountain,
Mm-hmm.
which
It must have
so
escaped
many
his
thoughts.
trap because later on we find out he has set up something to keep all this back. So clearly
Right.
something got out.
But so it followed him home. He crashed his vehicle trying to get home. He runs through a cornfield with this trap in his hand to get home to safety. And whatever this thing is chasing him, is kind of hiding in the shadows. And Egon's got his whole yard booby trapped. And he's sitting on his front porch holding this ghost trap, and almost like bait.
Right.
I thought it was like bait,
He
and
was trying to
the
bait him
ghost
in.
that was
He was.
in the shadows coming through the yard, and Egon sees it coming. You don't see the ghost, but you see like the imprints in the soil of the footprints.
Right.
And so he goes to throw the power switch for the trap, and it fails, and he has no backup. So he runs in the house, and he's set a trap in the house, didn't he? He had another trap in there, and he sat in his chair waiting for it.
Right.
It was under his chair, right?
I think so.
Or no, he put it in the floor, in that safe in the floor. Remember?
Oh, that's right. And she finds it later. Right. Right.
Yeah. So he was just sitting in the chair, like waiting for the ghost, and then it popped up through the floor and killed him.
Right.
Now you don't get to see it very much at all, but it looked like one of the terror dogs.
I was gonna say, how do the terror dogs? Because that fits the rest of the plot. Because those are the first ones you see. Because they're out trying to find bodies to start the whole process.
But they found one, right? They found Egon. So why were there two terror dogs looking to
That's
find
true.
the
So
key
it must
master?
not have been a terror dog, or maybe this is we're getting into a hole in the plot here.
Yeah. So that happened right off the bat. Egon dies. It was ruled a heart attack. Coroners come, not in the movie, but the coroners obviously come and take him away, notify the family, and the family happens to be Egon's daughter and granddaughter and grandson, who are on hard times. They can't afford to pay their rent, and they're getting evicted actively. And all of a sudden they have this house that's given to them, and they go to the house and they're looking to sell it and get some cash out of the deal, and they get there and the house is just a pile of crap, and they're not happy about it at all. But it's free, it's a house, it's a roof over their head, so they moved in. And the two kids were told that they're going to be there for a week or so to kind of settle the estate, and then all of a sudden, actually, we're going to live here. It's time to go to school, and they got a part-time job and everything. So they were kind of thrown into this situation in this town that even the people that live in the town say there's nothing here.
Right.
So,
the dirt farmer thought he was crazy.
The dirt farmer. Yeah. crazy dirt farmer.
Mm-hmm. And she has Egon's daughter is kind of mad because apparently he ran off, and from her point of view didn't care about his own family and her.
Just abandoned them all.
And so she's got that resentment carrying around. But right off the bat, when the family moves to this town in the middle of nowhere, they the kids each finds a friend. The older son has got attracted to the girl at the diner, at the like Sonic or whatever, and then the daughter or Phoebe,
she befriends the science teacher at school.
Yeah, the daughter Phoebe finds befriends Paul Rudd, the science teacher, and podcast. I thought that was pretty slick. I thought that was pretty slick, actually. About
that was a good actor too.
Dude, the child actors are good, man. Like, I was sold the whole time. Like, there wasn't any problems. If anything, they kind of put the old guys who could run for their money, as far as like,
the local kids take their new friends that just moved into town up to the top of the mountain. Yeah, that's where you see in the one of the trailers where the ghost comes flying out of that shaft.
Right.
And
it was red.
Of the mountain.
Not green.
It was.
Right.
Yep, it was green, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Slimer!" But then the second trailer, it was red, and everybody's like, "What?" So yeah, now we know why it's red.
Phoebe she's all scientific and everything, and she's very skeptical, and there's a line in there, she does not believe in ghosts, but by being a good skeptic, she has an open mind, and so as evidence develops that there might be something else going on, she doesn't deny it, she follows it along, and that was demonstrated by the chess game. She reset the chessboard and made a move, and when she came back to it the next morning, the other players had moved. And then she moved a piece, and it moved in real time, like playing with her. So that
right in front of her.
Right, that sent her off on the to ultimately find the PKG meter, and then she realized, it didn't work this way, it didn't work this way. She follows it that way. That led her downstairs to find the pattern on the floor. She saw the pattern on the floor and found the trap. So like all these things are building up.
And then the lights on the wall lit up one at a time, and she walked to that light, and
she
then the next
followed
one lit
the
up,
lights. It was
and
leading
she
her.
followed the lights downstairs.
Egon
outside.
was leading her.
Exactly.
Grandfather. This was great.
Yep. So she found a proton pack, and she was taking it apart and like, "Oh, you're missing these two pieces," and the light that Egon was controlling shined right exactly to where those pieces were. So she takes them and puts them into the proton pack, and then she's like, "I need some needle nose pliers," and then so Egon moved the light right to the pliers, and she takes the pliers and puts it all together, and then all of a sudden she has a working proton pack, and her and podcast they took it out to a local, looked like an abandoned factory, and they found some stuff to shoot, and just absolutely obliterated it. And just seeing the proton packs and watching when podcasts flip the switch and you hear when it would power up, and then when she shot it, oh man, like just all the sounds and memories coming back of like they use the actual audio, like
they created the same sound effect exactly the way they originally did it, and the visual and the special effect looked exactly like it used to,
but better because of much better, much newer technology.
Right.
I loved it.
I loved it, dude. Well, they venture on, and this is where we see our first sign of not Slimer, but Muncher, apparently, as he's called in the credits.
This is when I stepped out of the theater. I had to go up into the lobby for a minute, so I missed this section with Muncher. And I came back as fast as I could, but all of a sudden, they're in Ecto 1 driving around.
All right, so what happened?
I didn't even see them if they went back to the house and got in the car and left.
No. All right, so they go into like those buildings right around there where they test, and because they hear something, they follow the sound.
I heard that part.
Right, they follow the sound. They go in, and they keep seeing pieces of metal with like ectoplasm dripping off of it, and so they keep following this trail, of metal things being bitten with ectoplasm, like clear like bite marks, like something's like chewing metal. And so this demonstrates Muncher's power, which comes in handy and later on. And so they get the notion
It's a nice little tease there.
Yeah, exactly. It's foreshadowing, right? Like building you up for uh, establishing the logic of the world, right? So it can be used later or whatever. And so
they call him Muncher for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Slimer Muncher. And so she shoots him with the proton pack, and eventually misses a few times, gets a hold of him, it wraps him, like it does, and a podcast goes to throw out the trap, but it messes up. It's not, it falls over or whatever, and so something happens or whatever, and he breaks free and he's out of there, and because
that's when they start chasing him.
Yeah, and I think right, they're like out. It actually doesn't go that fast. It's like that scene's over, he's gone or whatever, and they're on the way. They start to walk home, but during this time, it cuts to Trevor, the grandson. He's doing the final touches on Ecto-1, or he's closing the hood and he starts it, and it finally starts for the first time.
Oh man, I missed that.
Yes, and well, excuse to go back and see it, right?
Yeah.
So that's when he starts his joyride that you see in the trailer, like through the fields or whatever, like through all the wheat fields.
Oh, okay.
And so he ends up out on the street, on the road in front of the house, and they're walking up. And it's like, hey, we've seen a ghost. Hey, I got the car going, and they head into town. Like something's on the radio. Like they got a police scanner. Like there's somebody messing something up or whatever. And Phoebe's like, that's Muncher. Or she didn't say Muncher. That's got to be the ghost we just saw. And so that's when they take off, all three of them in the car, and head into town. And that's probably right when you came back in, see them chasing them in town.
Yeah, yeah, and that's when I saw that they fashioned a ghost trap to an RC car.
Yes.
And so that was like a piece of equipment that they used a lot in the movie. They're in Ecto-1, hanging out the side of the car. One of them, Trevor's driving. Phoebe's hanging out the side with a proton pack, trying to shoot the ghost. And Podcast is in the. He's
missing a lot.
Oh yeah.
Trying to get him.
Yeah.
That comes back.
And Podcast is in the back of the car with these night vision goggles, and is driving a ghost trap, like right behind or in front of or even under sometimes Ecto-1, trying to get underneath Muncher to deploy the trap and trap him. And eventually he gets away. Muncher gets away.
Right.
And he makes a beeline.
Go ahead.
Well, he makes a beeline for the mountain, and that's when they follow him. I think that's when they go back to the mountain and they get into the
Well, they don't get in yet. What they do is they follow him. They do end up trapping him, and but because there's some reason, they get arrested, and this point, and have to go to jail, and this is where we get the phone call from the trailer, and it ends up being Phoebe, the granddaughter of, and at this point in time she's figured out who she is, and she's the granddaughter of my mind just went blank.
Egon.
Oh yeah, sorry. The granddaughter of Egon. I was totally too many things to think about. And she uses her, don't I get a phone call because I'm in jail. She didn't call her mom. She called Dan Aykroyd in the occult books.
Ray Stantz.
Yeah, exactly. She calls Ray because she sees, because before they watch when they're starting to find out about through Paul Rudd's character about the previous ghost sightings and the Ghostbusters in New York. She sees the number on the YouTube video. If you ever see a ghost, call this number. So that's the number she called.
She found the trap. She found one of the floor pieces.
Right.
Because Egon sent her to his chair, and then made her look at the floor, where there's like a puzzle, and she moved the floor tiles to reveal a vault in the floor where the ghost trap was, and she pulled it out and brought it to school, and that's where Paul Rudd was like, "Oh my God, that's a great prop," and come to find out it was real.
It was real.
Yeah, and then
so they did definitely. So fast back forward where we were, they did definitely catch Muncher because they got out of jail, but the police impounded the car, Ecto-1, and kept the proton pack and the trap, because later they had to open that trap to. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when we were talking about when Egon was sitting in his chair with a trap, did he trap the ghost that killed him? The answer is yes, right? Because or no, because that trap that he had a ghost in it, and he put it in the floor. And remember, when they pulled the trap out, that's when Paul Rudd...
See the little fizzle?
Well, remember they took it outside?
They took it outside to test it.
They wanted to test it, and they hooked the jumper cables from the bus up to the trap to try to... and they went to start the bus to see if they could open the trap with the power from the bus, but it didn't do anything, so he walked...
So it was a terror dog, but he ended up trapping it. It killed him, but he ended up trapping it.
I don't think it was the terror dog, though, because when they're looking through the book, talking about Gozer, there was another... There's like a demon. It wasn't Gozer. It was another demon that... Oh, man.
So the reason I say it's a terror dog because they use the same red special effect for the terror dogs each time, and that's the thing that took off at the beginning after it killed. No.
This is one of those small details where you're taking in so much from the movie.
Yeah.
And this is an important small detail that you got to go back and watch it again to figure out what it is, because now that I think about it.
No. It trapped himself. The terror dog got free. Because remember when Egon died, you saw the red thing take off through the window and left. Because it didn't get him. The trap, I think he trapped himself, and they released him, and that was him getting freed from the trap and going back home. No, it couldn't be, because he already interacted with everybody. But is this a plot hole? What are we missing here?
No, I'm telling you, when they were looking through that book, there was another demon other than the terror dogs. And it was a very specific, maybe 2 or 3 seconds on the screen where they're opening this book, and it shows the face. It was on the left side. I remember it specifically. I didn't have enough time to read it.
Right.
But they released it.
Right.
And that's when it exploded.
They're testing it. Right.
And that's when
but I'm liable.
The windshield. Right. Yeah, it exploded the windshield out of Paul Rudd's car, which actually was it was a comedy point used for the rest of the movie.
Because they're driving, and all the first time they reveal it, the camera just passes them like you're passing them on the highway, and reveals them just got no front window, and they're getting blown in the face.
Paul Rudd, he reaches up and he picks a piece of the windshield out of it and throws it out the window, and it shows Podcast is kind of like leaning out on the dash, just getting all the breeze in his face. And that's when he was running away from the terror dog at Walmart. Remember, he did a Dukes of Hazzard style belly slide across the hood through the windshield that wasn't there.
Right. To no avail in the end, but that was good, man. The comedy was on point, man. Like, I thought it was great. The one-liners, even her bad science dad jokes. Phoebe, they were
I loved them all.
They were good, dude. They were good.
What's the difference between a cigarette and a hamster? Nothing. They're both dangerous when you put them in your mouth and light them on fire. What a ridiculous joke.
It's so good. Even the first one, I don't remember what it was. I remember the first one he first asked her. I remember laughing like is anybody looking at me? Nobody else is laughing. I thought it was hilarious, you know? Oh my gosh. Yeah, well,
I like that one line where they finally get they're interacting with Gozer, which Gozer was a great modern rendition of the original Gozer. I think they made Gozer look very accurate, but she's like distracting Gozer with her horrible jokes, out of a 10-year-old's mind, distracting this powerful god with horrible jokes as Podcast was driving the RC car ghost trap underneath one of the terror dogs.
Right.
And Gozer just like looks at her and says, "Are you ready to die?" And she goes, "No. Are you?"
I'm a kid. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So of course they had to bring back the gatekeeper and the keymaster, and they had, of course, they took the two love interests.
That's how it works.
They took
right.
Phoebe's mother and Paul Rudd. What was his name? It was
I got it
Gary
right here.
something.
Gary Gooberson.
Gary Gooberson, and they actually made fun of his.
Yeah, Gooberson. It's like.
No, yeah, they made fun of his name. So the mother ended up being the gatekeeper, right? And then Gary ended up being the keymaster. Was that how it was?
Yeah.
And they both got possessed by the terror dogs, which was what was
and they ended up basically having the
Gozer
same kind of outfit on as Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. Gary was in all the tattered clothes and everything, just like Rick Moranis was.
Right.
And what do you think?
Yeah.
Remember when the mother was, she was down in, she found Egon's lab in the backyard underground, and there was a terror dog down there. One of the terror dogs, and actually jumped out of the dark and possessed her.
Right.
And then the next shot, she's sitting in Egon's chair in the living room.
Right.
Possessed with her eyes all red like a terror dog, and sitting there breathing extremely fast, just like Sigourney Weaver did in the first movie.
Right.
And they're like, "What's wrong with you?" And like she's like snapping at him, "Are you the keymaster?" And like growling at him and snipping at him and everything. And they're like, "What's wrong with her?" Like, because they had no idea. And next thing you know, that's when they pan to Gary, the keymaster, who is, for some reason, he's possessed by a terror dog. I forget exactly how that happened, but he's laying on some rocks in the middle of a field and just kind of wakes up, and his clothes are all tattered and everything. And in my mind, I was like, wow, that's a perfect throwback for Rick Moranis.
Oh.
But he wakes up because he hears the gatekeeper coming.
Right.
Like walking towards him, and like they're like, "Oh, you're the keymaster, you're the gatekeeper." And so the gatekeeper, which is the mother, she like rips her clothes off, but it immediately turns into like a huge flashy dress to like catch the keymaster's attention, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're the one for me." And like they get together, and all of a sudden, that's what signals Gozer to come, once the two are combined.
Right.
So that's when I think they actually are embodied by the terror dogs, and they stand guard inside the mountain. Yeah, that was something else.
Yeah, Gary Gooberson gets possessed at the Walmart scene when he jumps in through the window. He couldn't get away.
Right.
The car wouldn't
That's
start,
right.
and the terror dog goes right in the window with him.
Yeah. He's actually sitting on the hood of the car, and you hear the tires pop in the front of the car. Yeah, that was the end of that scene.
That was so good too. So all right, what all we got here?
Let's talk about when they went into the mountain. How did they get in the mountain and discover what was causing the earthquakes? Is that when Phoebe and Podcast were kind of snooping around in there, and they went back?
They went in there. That was their first time there, and they left. And the older kids had a first time there, and they left. And then the main group of the main cast and their friends and love interest end up coming back so it'll be the third time we're at the mountain, but the second time for each set coming back.
Right.
And they lower themselves from the top down in. They go down that little
mine shaft
thing, right? And that's when they discover the what Egon had discovered, that it was a tomb or whatever. It was like the main place for Gozer to come back, right?
Yeah, it was actually like a temple for Gozer.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a well of demons, and they kind of resembled the evil slime from Ghostbusters 2. It was like the same kind of color, and it was like bubbling up out of this well, and every time it got close to the top and coming out of the well and releasing into the town, there was a PKE meter that was pointed at the well, and when it got close enough, the PKE meter turned on and triggered 4 massive proton packs that were pointed right at the well, and it would just shoot the well and make make it all go back down again. And that's what all the explosion seismic activity was. The proton packs firing into this well and beating the evil back down into the ground. And it would happen every single day, and everybody's like, okay, it's just normal. So that was pretty interesting.
Everybody thought he was crazy, but he was the only one
he knew exactly what he was doing. He said, the end of the world's coming. It's going to come up out of the ground, and nobody believed him. They're like, oh, whatever, you crazy dirt farmer. Right. But he was saving everybody for years, and nobody even knew.
Nobody would listen to him because they thought he was freaking crazy. That's great. And
it's just so much.
Did you notice it was
to this plot?
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, for instance, in there, apparently there was a tie from the building in which all this happened in New York that they were on top of, and the owner of that building and the person who funded this mine shaft to begin with, or whatever. It was all tied together, not because he was wanting to ore.
The mining company.
Right. But he probably bought the mining company because of all the legend or whatever, and he found the spot, and that's why he was mining there to begin with, or who knows, or maybe he was mining and discovered all this, whatever the case may be. But they had I thought it was great because they had him, that old guy, like, preserved in a casket in this mining shaft. And
he'd been there for like 70 years, and he was mummified. He looked like he just died yesterday. Right. And every time that these proton packs would shoot at the well, it looked like the dead guy, I forget his name, the guy that pretty much built the whole town, where the mining company was. He was breathing. He came to life. He was gasping for air inside the tomb, and then once the proton pack shut down, it's like he lost his life again.
Right.
And this was witnessed by Podcast. He was right next to the casket when this happened, and the dead guy, he turned his head and he looked at him and he was like breathing, and Podcast is like, oh God, and he's like, he didn't know what to do, and they didn't hear him yelling for help because they were dealing with all these proton packs and these ghosts and everything.
Did you? So eventually it all goes to shit, and they do get released because Paul. It's later, I guess. We're jumping around here, but possessed Paul Rudd ends up taking out one of proton packs so it can all happen, so it doesn't charge them. And at that point in time, the old founder it wakes up and he comes out of his casket. Towards the end of the movie here, when it all goes to shit and they're all coming back. I thought, did you see who the actor was? J.K. Simmons? Famous fucking actor, big actor. But what was great about it is he had one fucking line and then got ripped in half.
Literally ripped in half.
Huge actor, like massive actor, and he's got the one line. He gets ripped in half, literally. Oh my god!
Yeah,
so we can rule together.
The proton packs were like 4 of them were pointing at the well, and Gary takes one of the proton packs and like forcefully like moves the stream and crosses the stream with another proton pack, which you can't do. Don't cross the streams, right. And it blows him up. And that's when Gozer comes out, which you kind of saw in the trailers. Right. If you paused it at the right frame, you could kind of see a hand coming up with like Gozer's hair.
Right.
And that's when Gozer comes up, and the dead dude comes out of his casket and is saying, I built this for you. So when you finally come back to rule the planet, we could rule together. And yeah, she just like literally ripped him right in half, right down the middle, and that was the end of him. No warning or anything, just ripped.
So good. So good.
Yeah. I got to see the underside of Ecto 1 for like 2 seconds, an undershot from the back, and I was like, no way. It was like just looking at
new information.
I was looking at the parts. I'm like, I've never seen this part of Ecto 1 before, and I was like, that was it. It was like a teaser shot. I'm like, no, there was nothing else. Oh God.
You are a car guy.
I want to look at that again, and then I got thinking like, how can I get a tour of the car? Like, just put it up on a lift. Let me look underneath it. Let me see this car. I want to see the underneath. I
That's
want to
the
look
part
in the
nobody
engine
gets
bay.
to see.
I know. Oh God, there were so many great cars that were made by a dude named George Barris. You probably never heard of his name, but he built the Monkey Mobile. He built the Munster Mobile. He built the Beverly Hillbillies car. Like he built every major movie car from the 60s through like the 90s. Even a lot of the Fast and Furious cars, he built a lot of them. He was a big name guy. He built Ecto 1.
Oh, yeah.
He built the first one. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in those cars that most people don't get to see. You know, maybe if you're Jay Leno, you could see it, but somebody like me, an enthusiast, never. Not unless I get right place at the right time.
Right time, right. It's a coincidence, right?
Is that when everybody shows up? And no, that's when the kids show up. The kids were there, and that's when they started telling her the bad jokes and distracting her with the jokes, right? And then they're sneaking the ghost.
And they capture one of the dogs, which makes her rip down to like half form or something.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when they get out of there.
Anymore.
That's when they get out of there, and everything ends up back at the house.
Right. Yep.
So now we're down to the finale here.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So
it was amazing.
I'm trying to remember exactly how it happened. There's just so much going through my head still. So they're at the house. The mother's there, and she kind of has, like her daughter, realized that there's more going on than she realized that she thought there was.
Oh yeah, she does free one of the dogs, and it's her mom that she frees. It happens to be that one. It happens to be the gatekeeper. Right. Because the mom's with them when they get back to the house.
And so that's the ghost that was in the trap that Phoebe had, right? When she's now on the porch of the house holding the trap out, just like Egon was in the beginning of the movie.
Exactly.
And the ghost is coming towards the house again, and she's holding this trap up as bait. And you see the ghost, just like in the beginning of the movie, coming through the cornfield, walking through the yard. And then the mother, she goes, flip the switch, and she flips the switch, which powers up these 3 large capacitors in the yard, and those capacitors are used to power, what they say, 100 or 150 ghost traps that were buried in the yard. So
the dirt farmer.
Yeah, exactly.
He planted all this stuff, but that's what the guy was referring to. The hardware guy.
He's always working the dirt, but never harvesting anything.
No, exactly. That's because
all right. I never put that together.
Yep, because he was planting those fucking traps. He got, man. He knew it all.
Dirt farmer. Yeah. So they go to flip the switch, and again it fails. So, and now the ghost is coming to get Phoebe, and that's when you hear. Isn't that when you hear like more proton packs fire up, and then that's when you hear?
No. First, or I can't remember. Is it them first, or is it her and then she needs help? No, it's them first, and they fell, and she helps. Okay, go ahead.
Because it pans back to Ecto 1, which was driven there by Trevor.
Right.
And that's when you hear, out of nowhere, what you heard from the last teaser trailer. You hear, "Hey, did you miss us?" Right. And then it pans up to Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and
Ernie.
Ernie, and they're all standing there in their full attire with the proton packs. Man, for being old men, they look pretty good in those uniforms. And
great, dude.
Oh, dude, I got goosebumps at that part.
I was goosebumps. I was starting. I wasn't teary then, but I was just all excited, and this is great. Oh my gosh! And here they are.
Yep.
But
so they. Mm-hmm. That's when they ended up firing up their proton packs and firing on the ghost.
Oh, wait. She asked them the same question as from...
that's right. I forgot.
Are you all gods? And
No. She asked Dan
specifically,
goes, are you a god? And Ernie's like, I should call him Ray. Ray's like, because before he said no, that was the wrong answer.
That was the wrong answer.
So he's sitting there kind of like, am I a god? And Ernie's like, dude, really? You should know the answer to this.
Really?
And then he's like, yes, I'm a god. And Ernie says, we're all gods.
Right.
And that's when is that when they fired up the proton packs?
I think that, yeah. Some clever one-liner comes out and they fire.
They fire on Gozer.
And
Gozer's super powerful.
And so they decided to combine, which you're not supposed to do, to try to get more power out of it.
It wasn't enough because Gozer actually grabbed the fields
and
like wrapped it around her arms and started pulling them in.
Right.
And that's when
it needed
the whole
one
time
more.
this is going on. The whole time this is going on, there's mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Men infested the Ecto-1 and just messing up all the equipment and the proton packs for
Trevor. Trevor couldn't help because his messed
podcast.
up. And podcast is because the guys were in there, the minis were in there, and podcast was trying to resolve that problem to get Trevor's
he
pack
ended
to
up
work.
getting was it a PKE meter?
Right.
And he was taking the meter and like shoving it into each little mini Stay Puft Man and like exploding them all and just popping all the little marshmallow men and eventually they got Trevor's proton pack working.
Right? No, it wasn't. It's because Phoebe. This is when Phoebe comes in, right? That was the whole point. I think that was the whole point of Trevor's breaking down, is because they needed. The plot leads to Phoebe has one on and she fires it, and it's still not quite enough, and then the best moment ever happens. You remember?
Well, No. It's because, you're right.
She needs help, and help comes.
I was gonna get at who one of the guys, and I can't believe I don't remember this, but they used their proton pack to shoot the failed capacitors in the yard to charge the capacitors that powered all the 100 ghost traps that were buried in the ground. Remember?
No. What it was is, you get that came after. That's when he blew up all the little Stay Puffs, and Trevor finally gets his going, and then he uses his to charge it because the three of them are trying to hold down Gozer, and so Phoebe comes in. We basically forget about her, and
Phoebe
so she's
shot
got
Gozer, and she needed help, and that's when the three Ghostbusters came and, hey, did you miss us? And then they shot Gozer, and it still wasn't enough, and they needed one more person.
And Trevor tried to help, and it didn't work, and so they're in the car trying to fix it.
That's right. Okay.
And then it comes back to Phoebe, and Phoebe's gets hers going again, or her stop for a second or something. So she gets hers going. So it's all four of them now.
It's still not enough, though. They needed a fifth. And that's when.
Well, it wasn't a fifth. Phoebe was having trouble keeping it on because Gozer was like doing something with the line, and she was literally having trouble keeping it on Gozer.
Oh, that's right.
And that's when the best moment happened.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, that's when.
And then
when Egon,
for the first time, Egon manifests, and we get to see him. So there is no doubt anymore. And you see an arm and a hand, right hand, come over Phoebe to help her hold the stream down. And the camera pulls out, and you realize it's her grandfather. There. It's been
standing
there the
behind
whole
her
time.
Embracing her and holding the proton pack, and
it's the best damn deep fake I have seen, like, ever.
It was good.
It was
had,
damn
like, the
good.
Old man facial hair and everything.
It was fucking ego. It's as if they just filmed it and made him a Force ghost. Like, it looked so good, people. I'm looking straight in the camera now. It looks so good, and the fact that it was a Force ghost probably helps get over the uncanny valley. So it made it even more believable. If they try to do just a person standing there, you'd be able to, it'd look fake. But it was so good, and that's when I got a little moist. I knew it was coming, but it still didn't matter. Like, I just got a little wet. I was like, oh shit, this is fucking great, man. I'm getting a little right now, but so good. And then they needed one more. They had it set up. They had her trapped with the four of them, the four beams, and that's when podcast finally blew up all the little Stay Puffs and was able to get the tech going. And I think Trevor used his not on Gozer, but to power up the capacitors and get the 100 traps lit up all at the same time. I think that's how it went.
And not only did it trap Gozer, but it brought in ghosts from all over the place.
It
It
was
was
so
sucking
powerful.
them into the farm, and they trapped a whole bunch of them. Um, yeah, yeah. And the whole time they're fighting Gozer, Bill Murray's like trash talking Gozer, like, yeah, you could have had me before, but you let me slip by, and you're not good enough for me anyway. Like, just trash talking like he did the first two movies. He did a
That's all he
great
does.
job.
So
He
good.
did it. He hasn't acted in a while, I don't think, but he slipped right back into this role perfectly. I was like, man, that's great.
It's made for him, dude. That's like
Yeah,
all of
no,
them,
it was
dude.
awesome.
All of them. I thought it was
It
great.
was awesome.
Uh,
So
so many good moments in this movie, and of course they had a nice little tribute and payoff. Egon couldn't
right at
speak.
the end of the movie, right at the end of the scene, it kind of it panned. The camera was looking down at the backyard where everything just happened. The whole cast is
Right.
there,
Yep.
and the camera kind of pans up because Egon, after this happened, Egon kind of dissipates into like a powder or a dust and floats up into the sky, and it kind of it shows that you got a battery icon on your thing flashing
Good call.
on your screen.
Let me swap that. Good call. Thought, my camera will go off, but I think the audio will still be good for a second. Yeah, I recorded a whole movie earlier today, so I bet they are dying. One battery. Good catch, though. Needs work. Don't give me that error. Back on charge real quick.
Hopefully, you can edit that out.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna have to do some editing there.
So after they trap all the ghosts, that's when the camera focuses on Egon, and he kind of like uh, breaks up into like a like a powder or a dust, and floats into the sky, and he mimics the stars, and he kind of they're kind of insinuating that he's gone now, and uh, as that happens, it just puts right on the screen for Harold.
Right.
For
The movie's not even
Harold
over
Ramis.
yet, but it's just
No,
like for Harold right there.
man, that was a perfect
That was great.
send off. That was awesome. That
I
was, and
think,
I'm kind of sad that they didn't give him any kind of voice parts, which I understand why. They probably
yeah,
didn't have anything to work with, but
right.
it was still nice to see how they took care of that.
I
And
can't speak for him, but it was perfect. I'm assuming the family signed off on it and everything, and rightly so. I thought
they still
it
put
was
him in the
great.
movie. They still found a way to put him in the movie, which was amazing. That was great.
The script is so good. Even if he was alive, I could see him being like, "Yeah, I'll be dead," and this is great. Like the way the
Right.
setup is. Like
Yeah, I
it's
think he probably
so
would have
good.
approved.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I've never talked to the man, but surely, it's
I
so
like that
good.
one part in the movie when Phoebe was messing with the proton packs, and she's like, "How did you make this? How do you know how to make this?" And like Egon's embodiment of the light, the spotlight, just like shines on the wall full of diplomas behind him, and she's like, "Oh, I get it. You're a genius."
And it also when the mother was down there, her whole character arc is that her father
Oh, my
didn't give a
father
fuck
didn't
about
love
him,
me. He abandoned me.
and
And
then
then come to find out, there's a whole shrine,
to
a whole
to
wall
her,
dedicated to her,
and following her achievements and everything.
and she had no idea. Like
Right,
he was following her life the whole time and knew everything about her and how she was doing, and she had no idea.
right.
It
Which
was kind
she
of
needed that. Yeah, absolutely.
oh yeah, it's
It
kind of
was
like closure for her, I guess.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, after, so that was pretty much the end of the movie, and then of course there's end scenes. So you stay a little bit, and it brings back, you're looking at the credits go by, and it gives a credit to Sigourney Weaver.
Right.
And I was
and
like,
wait a minute. I never saw
she wasn't
Sigourney
in this
Weaver.
movie. I'm like, did I miss something? Was she a voice actor?
Right.
And then it immediately goes to another another shot.
A great.
Yeah. No, it's Bill Murray in his professor outfit with his What'd you say?
All right, Justin. What's on the back of this? That's the scene.
Looks like 3 squiggly lines.
Right. Oh.
Yeah, so they're doing the gosh, what's that called? The
shock test.
No. It's late. I can't remember. But back in was it the Ghostbusters 1 where he would bring in the male and the female subject and hold up a card and be like, "What's on the back of this card?"
Right.
And the male figure would guess it correctly, and he'd say, sorry, that's not right."
And never show him the card. Right.
Yeah, he wouldn't show him the card, but then he'd pull up a card for the attractive female and say, "What's on the back of this card?" And she would guess it totally wrong. And he'd be like, "Man, you are so smart. How do you've got a psychic ability about you."
Right.
And
that's so good.
So he was just like shocking his students.
If you think about it, he's just a horrible professor. He's like,
yeah, using shock therapy. So the scene with Sigourney Weaver is her in the professor role, holding up the card and asking Bill Murray, "What's on this card?" And he would look at it and it's like, "It's 3 squiggly lines," and it was. Right. "No, that's not it." Shock him.
Right.
And then she'd hold up another card with a star. "What's on the back of this card?" "It's a 5-pointed star." "Sorry, nope. That's wrong." Shock him again.
By the third one, she's like, "Wait a minute.
Yeah, did you mark these cards?" And he's like, "Yeah, I marked the cards. I know what to." "You're not supposed to do that." He's just shocking the crap out of him. And that's pretty much all it was. It was like it was fan service all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great.
That's all it was. And then it goes through credits for like another maybe 5-6 minutes.
And then the end credit scene comes up.
Yeah, and then so at the very end, there's another scene, which I'll let you take this one away, because I secretly, you know how I'm talking about Ecto-1 all the time. I was hoping, seeing these documentaries that are on YouTube of how they rebuilt the car and painted it and made it look all new, right. They were going to show, because Ernie Hudson, at the end of the movie, after they killed Gozer, he walks up to Ecto-1 and he's like kind of rubbing on the paint like, "Man, we'll take you home, we'll get you cleaned up good." Right. So I was hoping that second end scene was going to be Ecto-1 restored to his full glory with the lights going and the siren going, and that would have just ended my night perfectly.
Like pulling into the fire station, like that.
Yeah,
that's where he was.
What I was hoping for.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite happen like that. So tell him what happened.
All right, so it's a conversation between
Janine
and yeah, exactly, and Ernie's character Winston, and it's just basically filler of like what Winston has done and accomplished, and apparently it leads you to know that he's made success in finance and everything, and Janine's like is just asking him questions, and he states that like, yeah, he might have made a bunch of money doing all this or whatever, but
he started a business as one man, and now it's a global empire.
Exactly.
And he might be a businessman, but at heart,
his proudest moment is actually just being a Ghostbuster. It was great, and so the implication of that, though, other than more fan service and catching up with our characters and everything, is Ray didn't get a post-credit scene. It's almost like he should have got one too. Each one got a thing. But anyway, so Winston, it's just to me, I took that as, oh yeah, there was one more line about like Janine asked him, "Are you still paying for the cult books?" That's the reference to Ray
He's
or
still
whatever.
paying his mortgage.
Right, and he's like, oh, he'll turn a profit one day, or whatever. Like he can bankroll his
Yeah,
thing.
to
He's got
him,
so much money.
paying the mortgage on that little bookstore is nothing to him, but it keeps his
Nothing.
buddy in business and keeps him happy.
Exactly, and so what I got out of all that was because the final shot, knowing that information, and then the final shot was
No,
back
hold on, before you go any further.
Yeah.
That would have been a perfect segue to bring Rick Moranis in as his accountant.
Right. Exactly. that would have been it. That would have been it.
And it
absolutely.
might be in the future. You never know.
You never know. Actually, Rick has not worked. I was wrong. He's been in retirement. But if you look at his IMDb, which that isn't. I
think he's done some voice acting.
But he's done some voice acting. But he's retired from being on screen. There is a new movie called Shrunk, and he is.
Oh God, is he reprising his role?
That is the rumors. That is not confirmed because IMDb isn't gold standard. It's just because it's like Wiki. Anybody can edit it, but
yeah,
members can. But
hey, I mean that's about the right timeline of raising his kids. His kids could be grown and moved out, and he might want to get back into doing some acting.
Right. Oh,
dude, he's got a huge following.
Absolutely, he's the fucking man, dude. He's dope. All right, so it ends with like back in the old firehouse, and you see the old main trap where the EPA guy wanted to shut it down, or did eventually shut it down and release them all. That is clearly activated and has ghosts in it, and it like
because the red light's flashing, and as soon as it showed it on camera, my daughter saw it was the main containment unit down in the basement of the firehouse, and my daughter's like, ugh, that thing again?
So with the bankrolling and the money and success of Winston, and then showing that, to me, that's just, if the movie does good.
I think you missed a piece. It shows opening up the small walk-through door at the very front of the fire department, and Winston walking through it in his business suit, kind of looking around at this old dilapidated building, and then he opens up the door, and then Ecto-1 pulls in, old, patina Ecto-1 from the movie.
Like you say, we're going to treat you. Yeah.
Pulls right back in, and that's when I was like, last-ditch effort. Hopefully they'll do one of these, and then the whole firehouse will be restored, and Ecto-1 will be restored. And
but it pans over to the thing. Right.
Yeah,
I got you. But yeah, that's all clearly setting up, like, if the movie does good and people people like it, they've planted that seed to continue.
Absolutely, and they've done a great job with setting up not only the next wave of cast, but the storyline as well, and also a way to keep the previous cast relevant.
If they want to, and keep them relevant, right? As much as they want.
I think, as long as they're acting,
why
I can
not?
see them doing it.
And the script, as long as they're acting and the script is good, that is key. But, to get everybody on, it's got to be.
What about the writers and the producers that were from the first two movies? I wonder if that's a key. Like, if they're in the next movies, the original cast will be too.
The son of the original director and producer, because Ray. Oh my God, too many names. Dan Aykroyd, obviously, was a co-writer. Him and Winston, him and
no, it was him and Harold Ramis.
Yeah, Harold Ramis were the two writers on originally, and so as long as the script good, so the original, the son of the original director is who wrote and directed this one.
Okay. But it was
the
same
name?
Producer, right?
But it's still the old director produced this one, so the dad was the producer on this one. Reitman. Jason, you did it right, man.
Boo.
Oh, come on! Boo. Well, anything we want to, final thoughts on Ghostbusters? Anything you want to reminisce about or whatever? Just wrap up. I love the movie. You already heard me say this twice. It's a 9.5 for me. If Rick Moranis would have been in there, I would have bumped it up for 10. Even if it was just over the shoulder, you see his face smiling, locked out of the door in the hallway, whatever. Or as the assistant for Winston there at the end, because he was everything.
In the office with a pile of books, like, I got your accounting papers.
cut.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been great.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
I want to change my answer to be the same as yours now. I want to copy your answer because that's better than mine.
That's fine with me, man. It was great. It was great. Any final thoughts? Take it away for a second.
Oh, man. Great movie. I can't wait to go see it again. My father hasn't seen it yet, and we're going to be out of town next week on vacation, so I might have to bring him out to a theater. And
well, if that is it, we'll wrap this up. Hey, everyone, thank you for joining us on this probably long review.
Very long review. Worth it, though. Go watch the movie. Go watch the movie.
I guess you've made it this far, you've seen it, but or you just spoiled everything for yourself. One of the two. But thank you for joining us. Please comment down below. Tell us how stupid we are and what we missed, or any interaction. We read the comments. We appreciate anything you got to say. Like the video if you did. Comment down below. Like I said, subscribe if you're new here. We'll have plenty more to come. This is becoming fun. I enjoy this. Justin, thank you for joining me. I realize this is just completely extracurricular for you or whatever, but it's great. It's
fun. I'm very passionate about Ghostbusters. I was excited to do this review. I was still in the theater. We were in the ending credits, and I'm texting you saying we got to do a review tonight. I know I got an hour and a half drive home,
and you got to get up.
I have to get up in 4 hours to go back out of town. We got to do this tonight, though. We got to do it now while it's fresh on my mind before I forget any detail.
I will probably be cutting it down a little bit. I'm not going to post an hour and 40 minutes.
We're at about an hour and 45 minutes
right now. We'll leave that clip in there so people know how long we just talked about this. If anything, something like this later on, we might just want to do a live stream and not even worry about the edit or anything. But anyway, something to consider as we get more comfortable doing things. I'm ranting. We'll wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe, notifications, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.